hopefully. There we go. All right. Well, good morning, everybody. Happy Tuesday. Hopefully, you all are staying warm. It is like freezing outside here in the Central Ohio area. But hopefully, you all are staying warm. Maybe grabbing an extra blanket, wrapping yourself around that, or having a blanket around you. This is not related to cold or weather. But the question I have for you today is, would you rather have telekinesis, which means that you are able to move things with your mind, or have telepathy, which is the ability to read minds? So I'm going to open up polling. We had some great answers going this morning. But if you want to state your case again, go right ahead.
I'm going with actually read your minds because I was thinking about going to be able to move things with your mind, but if you can't really, like, what is it really going to be used for? Like grabbing a remote to like from 8 feet away?
Honestly, I
Cause
think telepathy would be really cool because you could understand what your pet wants.
yeah, right. Everything what everybody's thinking. Like imagine you're like I don't know
You don't
playing
have
like a
to
sport or
guess.
something,
You don't
and
have to
then you can
guess what
tell
your
your
pet
opponent's
wants. Like,
move. Right.
it's a lot easier than just guessing what your cat wants or
Right.
pet or
Somebody said
anything.
Mary Harp said telekinesis. I disagree because what are you gonna do with telekinesis? Move like I mean, yes, you can move stuff a lot, but reading people's minds, I feel like it's way better. Like imagine just being
Yeah, but what if you need to get your way and you can move people?
move people. Wouldn't that be a police thing? Technically, like police could literally like maybe like sue you, not sue you, but like take you to jail because
But if you
you're
Yeah,
moving
but then
people.
I
But
can just
you can
move
move
the
them out the way
telekinesis
from
and get the
touching you.
keys.
Well,
And
if
I
you
can
have
just
the
move the
ability to
telekinesis and
read
get
minds,
You can
then
read minds though.
super
If
villain idea.
yeah, but if you
like
read,
if
if
I'm
you have
reading
the
your mind,
ability,
I know you're gonna do that, so I can move out the way.
yeah, but
If
if
I'm
you
reading your
have the
mind.
ability to read minds, then if you read somebody's mind, it might be something bad, or they
Exactly.
say something bad about you in their mind, then
Okay, but like,
You never know what people
And
are
Brandon,
thinking.
Brandon. By the way, Brandon. And
like this morning, I kept having to guess what my new cat wanted, and I just was confused because she was running around everywhere. She kept jumping onto my windowsill and falling.
yeah, I disagree with Brandon because if I know you're gonna move out the way, if
Poor
I know you're
cat.
gonna try to move me out the way, I could just I could just telepathy, and then like know you're doing that and move out the way. That's why I think better. Even though telekinesis would be still cool, but there's not like
Plus, if
able to read
someone's trying to
minds.
attack you, you can hear their mind,
I
like right
know
behind you.
you could know like you can know what their next moves are.
Yeah.
Kind of like if you're playing basketball, if you're on defense or offense, you could read your opponent's move. Either sport, that would be a crazy advantage.
Then what happens when they find out you actually have it? Then you'll be kicked out the league.
Same thing with telekinesis. We kick out the league.
All right, excellent job, everybody, with our answers. Let's see what the majority of us said. Majority of us said telekinesis, and it would have been pretty nice maybe to have telepathy when it came to, I don't know if anybody watched the game on Sunday. Hopefully you weren't up super late, but the Raiders-Chargers game. As a Steelers fan, I would have loved to have telepathy to figure out if they actually were going to tie or not. To be able to read those coaches' minds and those players' minds. But me personally, I'd rather have telepathy. I know like it's kind of not the best to have because I mean, reading people's minds, like I'm one that I don't like to know what other people are thinking about me, like, or sometimes I want to know. But I think the biggest thing would be is like for Calvin, for example, like if he's able to at least think, I would think that he'd be able to think, I don't know, he can't think in English, but just be able to kind of be like, okay, dude, like, what are you thinking right now? Like, what are you trying to say? I can't understand you. So that would be easier for me to kind of understand. So yeah, it would be cool to be able to move things with my mind, but I don't know, being able to read people's minds, I think would be something I would prefer, but both would be pretty awesome to have. So, all right. Well, today we are going to be reading Mowgli's Brothers, which if you're familiar with Mowgli, you would know Jungle Book. We're going to actually read a portion of the Jungle Book the next couple of days, which is super exciting. So let's dive into our lesson. So we are in lesson 1.02, which is Mowgli's brothers. Learning goals for today, we're going to use reading strategies to help us understand Mowgli's brothers and answer comprehension questions. We're going to identify different parts of the plot, including exposition, rising action, complicating incident, conflict, climax, falling action, resolution. Remember that thing that looks like a roller coaster, climbing a mountain? That's parts of the plot development. Determine the type of conflict present in the story and describe how characters change over time. And we're going to participate in a discussion with other students. So I'm going to just do a quick introduction. We talked about the law of the jungle yesterday, you know, for the strength of the wolf is the pack and for the strength of the pack is the wolf. We're going to actually touch base probably on Thursday and have you answer kind of what is the law of the jungle, and really understanding that. You know, but we talked about how when we as a society or a community that follows different rules, when people are trying to break those rules or trying to break those boundaries, or, you know, laws are not put into place, what happens in this case? You know, what happens to society as a whole? But laws bring a sense of order to this diverse world. People, despite their personal desires, still follow the rules of their community. As you read Mowgli's brothers, analyze how the rules and laws of the jungle help bring order to your community. So again, we'll kind of touch base on that. We'll see kind of how the law of the jungle works in this particular story. So Mowgli's brothers and you. Literature is like a mirror. When you read a story, we are peering into a new world. We get to experience that world from a new point of view. The story also reflects back. And as we learn more about the characters, plots, and themes of a story, we are also learning more about ourselves and the world. To connect with the themes of the story, we need to build connections between what we are reading and our own experiences. So even though, yes, we are not living in jungles, we're not being raised by wolves, we can still relate to Mowgli in a lot of ways with the characters as well when it comes to law and order. So authors create stories like this, you know, more fictional stories, because it helps us to connect to the themes of the book. So when they're talking about how law is super important in society, we're going to see that example in a story. It makes it a little bit easier to digest versus it, you know, the author just coming out and saying, this is why we need law and order and going through that. It's more fun this way too, because honestly, like if we were to read an informational piece about the importance of having laws, it might be a little bit boring, but at least if we're going into a literature piece like this, we can really connect with it and we can look at it like a mirror, and look at how this relates to our everyday lives. All right, let's go over some vocabulary before we dive into the first part of the story. So we have compliment, which means to praise someone. He compliments his friend for his taste in shoes. We have accustomed, which means usual or normal. They had become accustomed to eating dinner, it should say once it got dark outside. And dispute, which means an argument or disagreement. She had a dispute with the police officer over her parking ticket. And real quick, if you need to go back through those vocabulary words, it is in your lesson for today. It also, there's a section that you can fill out the definitions in the study guide that's optional as well, if you wanted to use that. So the video that I have covers both parts of the story that we're going to be reading today and tomorrow. So I'll cut it off at a certain point. It's not going to be like sitting there for 37 minutes listening to this, but we'll read the first part. And it is not the Mr. Clemens voice that appears. It's actually a different person, a different teacher that is reading it. So that's why if the voice appears, you might be like, oh, is that the Mr. Clemens voice that happens with your microphone? Nope, it's a totally different person reading this part. So just to let you know. All right, let me get the video. All right, so we're going to read the first part of Mowgli's brothers.
Brothers, Part 1. Now ran the kite, brings home the night, that Mang the bat sets free. The herds are shut in byre and hut, for loosed till dawn are we. This is the hour of pride and power, talon and tush and claw. Oh, hear the call, good hunting all, that keep the jungle law. Night Song in the Jungle. It was 7 o'clock on a very warm evening in the Seone Hills when Father Wolf woke up from his day's rest, scratched himself, yawned, and spread out his paws one after the other to get rid of the sleepy feeling in their tips. Mother Wolf lay with her big gray nose dropped across her 4 tumbling, squealing cubs, and the moon shone into the mouth of the cave where they all lived. "Arr," said Father Wolf, "it is time to hunt again." He was going to spring downhill when a little shadow with a bushy tail crossed the threshold and whined, "Good luck go with you, O Chief of the Wolves. And good luck and strong white teeth go with noble children, that they may never forget the hungry in this world." It was the jackal, Tabaqui the dish licker, and the wolves of India despise Tabaqui because he runs about making mischief and telling tales, and eating rags and pieces of leather from the village rubbish heaps. But they are afraid of him too, because Tabaqui, more than anyone else in the jungle, is apt to go mad, and then he forgets that he was ever afraid of anyone, and runs through the forest biting everything in his way. Even the tiger runs and hides when little Tabaqui goes mad, for madness is the most disgraceful thing that can overtake a wild creature. We call it hydrophobia, but they call it Dewani, the madness, and run. "Enter then and look," said Father Wolf stiffly, "but there is no food here." "For a wolf, no," said Tabaqui, "but for so mean a person as myself, a dry bone is a good feast. Who are we, the Gilder Log, the jackal people, to pick and choose?" He scuttled to the back of the cave, where he found the bone of a buck with some meat on it, and sat cracking the end merrily. "All thanks for this good meal," he said, licking his lips. "How beautiful are the noble children! How large are their eyes, and so young too! Indeed, indeed, I might have remembered that the children of kings are men from the beginning." Now, Tabaqui knew, as well as anyone else, that there is nothing so unlucky as to compliment children to their faces. It pleased him to see Mother and Father Wolf look uncomfortable. Tabaqui sat still, rejoicing in the mischief that he had made, and then he said spitefully, "Shere Khan, the big one, has shifted his hunting grounds. He will hunt among these hills for the next moon, so he has told me." Shere Khan was the tiger who lived near the Waingunga River, 20 miles away. "He has no right," Father Wolf began angrily. "By the law of the jungle, he has no right to change his quarters without due warning. He will frighten every head of game within 10 miles, and I have to kill for 2 these days." "His mother did not call him Lungri, the lame one, for nothing," said Mother Wolf quietly. "He has been lame in 1 foot from his birth. That is why he has only killed cattle. Now the villagers of the Waingunga are angry with him, and he has come here to make our villagers angry. They will scour the jungle for him when he is far away, and we and our children must run when the grass is set alight. Indeed, we are very grateful to Shere Khan." "Shall I tell him of your gratitude?" said Tabaqui. "Out," snapped Father Wolf. "Out and hunt with thy master. Thou hast done harm enough for one night." "I go," said Tabaqui quietly. "Ye can hear Shere Khan below in the thickets. I might have saved myself the message." Father Wolf listened, and below in the valley that ran down to a little river, he heard the dry, angry, snarly, sing-song whine of a tiger who has caught nothing, and does not care if all the jungle knows it. "The fool," said Father Wolf, "to begin a night's work with that noise. Does he think that our buck are like his fat Waingunga bullocks?" "Hush! It is neither bullock nor buck he hunts tonight," said Mother Wolf. "It is man." The whine had changed to a sort of humming purr that seemed to come from every quarter of the compass. It was the noise that bewilders woodcutters and gypsies sleeping in the open, and makes them run sometimes into the very mouth of the tiger. "Man," said Father Wolf, showing all his white teeth. "Faugh! Are there not enough beetles and frogs in the tanks that he must eat man, and on our ground too?" The law of the jungle, which never orders anything without a reason, forbids every beast to eat man except when he is killing to show his children how to kill, and then he must hunt outside the hunting grounds of his pack or tribe. The real reason for this is that man-killing means, sooner or later, the arrival of white men on elephants with guns, and hundreds of brown men with gongs and rockets and torches. Then everybody in the jungle suffers. The reasons the beasts give among themselves is that man is the weakest and most defenseless of all living things, and it is unsportsmanlike to touch him. They say, and it is true, that man-eaters become mangy and lose their teeth. The purr grew louder, and ended in the full-throated "arr" of the tiger's charge. Then there was a howl, an untigerish howl, from Shere Khan. "He has missed," said Mother Wolf. "What is it?" Father Wolf ran out a few paces and heard Shere Khan muttering and mumbling savagely as he tumbled about in the scrub. "The fool has had no more sense than to jump at a woodcutter's campfire and has burned his feet," said Father Wolf with a grunt. "Tabaki is with him." "Something is coming uphill," said Mother Wolf, twitching one ear. "Get ready." The bushes rustled a little in the thicket, and Father Wolf dropped with his haunches under him, ready for his leap. Then, if you had been watching, you would have seen the most wonderful thing in the world. The wolf checked in mid-spring. He made his bound before he saw what it was he was jumping at, and then he tried to stop himself. The result was that he shot up straight into the air for 4 or 5 feet, landing almost where he left ground. "Man!" he snapped. "A man's cub! Look!" Directly in front of him, holding on by a low branch, stood a naked brown baby who could just walk, as soft and as dimpled a little atom as ever came to a wolf's cave at night. He looked up into Father Wolf's face and laughed. "Is that a man's cub?" said Mother Wolf. "I've never seen one. Bring it here." A wolf accustomed to moving his own cubs can, if necessary, mouth an egg without breaking it, and though Father Wolf's jaws closed right on the child's back, not a tooth even scratched the skin as he laid it down among the cubs. "How little, how naked, and how bold," said Mother Wolf softly. The baby was pushing his way between the cubs to get close to the warm hide. "Aha! He is taking his meal with the others. And so this is a man's cub. Now, was there ever a wolf that could boast a man's cub among her children?" "I have heard now and again of such a thing, but never in our pack or in my time," said Father Wolf. "He is altogether without hair, and I could kill him with a touch of my foot. But see, he looks up and is not afraid." The moonlight was blocked out of the mouth of the cave, for Shere Khan's great square head and shoulders were thrust into the entrance. Tabaki, behind him, was squeaking, my lord, it went in here." "Shere Khan does us great honor," said Father Wolf, but his eyes were very angry. "What does Shere Khan need?" "My quarry. A man's cub went this way," said Shere Khan. "Its parents have run off. Give it to me." Shere Khan had jumped at a woodcutter's campfire, as Father Wolf had said, and was furious from the pain of his burned feet. But Father Wolf knew that the mouth of the cave was too narrow for a tiger to come in by. Even where he was, Shere Khan's shoulders and forepaws were cramped for want of room, as a man's would be if he tried to fight in a barrel. "The wolves are a free people," said Father Wolf. "They take orders from the head of the pack, and not from any striped cattle killer. The man's cub is ours, to kill if we choose." "Ye choose, and ye do not choose. What talk is this of choosing? By the bull that I killed, am I to stand nosing into your dog's den for my fair dues? It is I, Shere Khan, who speak." The tiger's roar filled the cave with thunder. Mother Wolf shook herself clear of the cubs and sprang forward, her eyes like 2 green moons in the darkness, facing the blazing eyes of Shere Khan. "And it is I, Raksha, the demon, who answers. The man's cub is mine, Lungri, mine to me. He shall not be killed. He shall live to run with the pack and to hunt with the pack. And in the end, look you, hunter of little naked cubs, frog eater, fish killer, he shall hunt thee. Now get hence, or by the Sambor that I killed, I eat no starved cattle. Back thou goest to thy mother. Burned beast of the jungle, lamer than ever thou camest into the world. Go." Father Wolf looked on amazed. He had almost forgotten the days when he won Mother Wolf in fair fight from 5 other wolves, when she ran in the pack and was not called the demon for compliment's sake. Shere Khan might have faced Father Wolf, but he could not stand up against Mother Wolf, for he knew that where he was, she had all the advantage of the ground, and would fight to the death. So he backed out of the cave mouth, growling, and when he was clear, he shouted, "Each dog barks in his own yard. We shall see what the pack will say to this fostering of man cubs. The cub is mine, and to my teeth he will come in the end, O bush-tailed thieves." Mother Wolf threw herself down, panting among the cubs, and Father Wolf said to her gravely, "Shere Khan speaks this much truth. The cub must be shown to the pack. Wilt thou still keep him, mother?" "Keep him," she gasped. "He came naked by night, alone and very hungry, yet he was not afraid. Look, he has pushed one of my babes to one side already." and that lame butcher would have killed him and would have run off to the Waingunga while the villagers here hunted through all our lairs in revenge. Keep him? Assuredly I will keep him. Lie still, little frog, O thou Mowgli, for Mowgli the frog I will call thee. The time will come when thou wilt hunt Shere Khan as he has hunted thee. But what will our pack say? Said Father Wolf. The law of the jungle lays down very clearly that any wolf may, when he marries, withdraw from the pack he belongs to, but as soon as his cubs are old enough to stand on their feet, he must bring them to pack council, which is generally held once a month at full moon, in order that the other wolves may identify them. After that inspection, the cubs are free to run where they please, and until they have killed their first buck, no excuse is accepted if a grown wolf of the pack kills one of them. The punishment is death where the murderer can be found, and if you think for a minute, you will see that this must be so. Father Wolf waited till his cubs could run a little, and then, on the night of the pack meeting, took them and Mowgli and Mother Wolf to the council rock, a hilltop covered with stones and boulders where 100 wolves could hide. Akela, the great gray lone wolf, who led all the pack by strength and cunning, lay out at full length on his rock, and below him sat 40 or more wolves of every size and color, from badger-colored veterans who could handle a buck alone to young black 3-year-olds who thought they could. The lone wolf had led them for a year now. He had fallen twice into a wolf trap in his youth, and once he had been beaten and left for dead, so he knew the manners and customs of men. There was very little talking at the rock. The cubs tumbled over each other in the center of the circle where their mothers and fathers sat, and now and again a senior wolf would go quietly up to a cub, look at him carefully, and return to his place on noiseless feet. Sometimes a mother would push her cub far out into the moonlight to be sure that he was not overlooked. Akela from his rock would cry, "Ye know the law, ye know the law, look well, O wolves," and the anxious mothers would take up the call, "Look, look well, O wolves." At last, and Mother Wolf's neck bristles lifted as the time came, Father Wolf pushed Mowgli the Frog, as they called him, into the center, where he sat laughing and playing with some pebbles that glistened in the moonlight. Akela never raised his head from his paws, but went on with his monotonous cry, "Look well." A muffled roar came up from behind the rocks, the voice of Shere Khan crying, "The cub is mine, mine to me. What have the free people to do with a man's cub?" Akela never even twitched his ears. All he said was, "Look well, O wolves. What have the free people to do with the orders of any, save the free people? Look well." There was a chorus of deep growls, and a young wolf in his 4th year flung back Shere Khan's question to Akela. "What have the free people to do with a man's cub?" Now the law of the jungle lays down that if there is any dispute as to the right of a cub to be accepted by the pack, he must be spoken for by at least 2 members of the pack who are not his father and mother. "Who speaks for this cub?" said Akela. "Among the free people, who speaks?" There was no answer, and Mother Wolf got ready for what she knew would be her last fight if things came to fighting. Then the only other creature who was allowed at the pack council, Baloo, the sleepy brown bear who teaches the wolf cubs the law of the jungle, old Baloo, who can come and go where he pleases because he eats only nuts and roots and honey, rose upon his hind quarters and grunted. "The man's cub, the man's cub," he said. "I speak for the man's cub. There is no harm in a man's cub. I have no gift of words, but I speak the truth. Let him run with the pack and be entered with the others. I myself will teach him." "We need yet another," said Akela. "Baloo has spoken, and he is our teacher for the young cubs. Who speaks besides Baloo?" A black shadow dropped down into the circle. It was Bagheera, the Black Panther, inky black all over, but with the panther markings showing up in certain lights like the pattern of watered silk. Everybody knew Bagheera, and nobody cared to cross his path, for he was as cunning as Tabaqui, as bold as the wild buffalo, and as reckless as the wounded elephant. But he had a voice as soft as wild honey dripping from a tree, and a skin softer than down. "Oh, Akela and ye free people," he purred, "I have no right in your assembly, but the law of the jungle says that if there is a doubt which is not a killing matter in regard to a new cub, the life of that cub may be bought at a price. And the law does not say who may or may not pay that price. Am I right?" "Good, good," said the young wolves, who were always hungry. "Listen to Bagheera. The cub can be bought for a price. It is the law." Knowing that I have no right to speak here, I ask your leave." "Speak, then," cried 20 voices. "To kill a naked cub is shame. Besides, he may make better sport for you when he is grown. Baloo has spoken in his behalf. Now, to Baloo's word, I will add 1 bull, and a fat one, newly killed, not half a mile from here, if ye will accept the man's cub according to the law. Is it difficult?" There was a clamor of scores of voices, saying, "What matter? He will die in the winter rains. He will scorch in the sun. What harm can a naked frog do us? Let him run with the pack. Where is the bull, Bagheera? Let him be accepted." And then came Akela's deep bay, crying, look well, O wolves." Mowgli was still deeply interested in the pebbles, and he did not notice when the wolves came and looked at him one by one. At last they all went down the hill for the dead bull, and only Akela, Bagheera, Baloo, and Mowgli's own wolves were left. Shere Khan roared still in the night, for he was very angry that Mowgli had not been handed over to him. "I roar well," said Bagheera under his whiskers, "for the time will come when this naked thing will make thee roar to another tune, or I know nothing of man." "It is well done," said Akela. "Men and their cubs are very wise. He may be a help in time." "Truly a help in time of need, for none can hope to lead the pack forever," said Bagheera. Akela said nothing. He was thinking of the time that comes to every leader of every pack, when his strength goes from him, and he gets feebler and feebler, till at last he is killed by the wolves, and a new leader comes up, to be killed in his turn. "Take him away," he said to Father Wolf, "and train him as befits one of the free people." And that is how Mowgli was entered into the Seeonee wolf pack for the price of a bull and on Baloo's good word. Now, you must be content.
Have that Mowgli was officially accepted into the pack. They call him this frog because they don't really know. Some of the wolves don't really know what type of creature he is. Of course, we know that he's a human, but that's why they keep calling him the frog. So it's Mowgli's not a frog, but he's a human. All right, so a couple of questions for today. So why does Shere Khan think Mowgli should be given to him? Is it he wants to raise Mowgli as he would raise a tiger cub? Is it B, Mother and Father Wolf plan to eat Mowgli? C, Mowgli was his prey? Or D, he wants revenge against Mowgli? A, B, C, or D? Choose your answer. Everybody's answering at this time. I see some students that are kind of offline, not really doing anything. Make sure we're answering. So Zella, please answer. Tamar, Montana, Max, Lily, Kaylin, Julie, Jocelyn, Isabella, Cole K, Isabella. Let's make sure we're all answering. All right, so Isabella, Cole K, let's make sure we're answering. Julie, let's make sure we're answering. Lily H. Montana. And Zella. Let's make sure we're answering, please. All right, we're going to reveal the answer here in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Excellent job, everybody. It is C. So, unfortunately, we would love to think that Shere Khan would want to raise, a tiger cub. But here's the thing, though. As he would raise a tiger cub. But here's the thing. The tigers are actually kind of that competitor in this case because the tiger's actually preying on on Mowgli. But in this case, Mowgli is actually his prey. He wants to eat Mowgli, unfortunately. So that's why Shere Khan is super upset, because Mowgli is his prey. So C is the correct answer. Remember, predator and prey, like if you think of scientific terms, predator is the one that's doing the attacking. The prey is like what they're attacking exactly. All right, let's do another one. So what is most likely inferred from Mother's Wolf's actions as in her name, Raksha? Is it that she's deeply wise and clever? She is a meek, timid wolf. She is hot-tempered fighter, or she is cruel and mean-tempered? A, B, C, or D. Choose your answer. So Isabella, please make sure you're answering. Bella C, please make sure you're answering. Cole K. Israel, Isabella. Thank you, Isabella. Julie, Lily H, Mary, Montana, Tamar, and Zella. Let's make sure we're answering, please. All right, we're going to reveal the answer here in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So based off of the way that Raksha actually interacts and talks to all of the characters in the story, it's actually C in this case. Raksha actually means like a fighter, someone that protects. So if you kind of knew the name of the meaning behind the name Raksha, you would have known that that was the case. But it's actually, in this case, C. She's actually a hot-tempered fighter. She's willing to protect Mowgli and fights for that as well. Why does the law of the jungle forbid every beast to eat man except when he is killing to show his children how to kill? And then he must hunt outside the hunting grounds of his tribes. This is part of the law of the jungle. Is it A, if an animal kills a man, more men will come with torches and guns, and all animals in the jungle will suffer? B, because man is the weakest and most defenseless of all living things, it is unsportsmanlike to touch him. C, animals are not supposed to eat man because Mowgli is a member of the wolf pack. Or D, if an animal eats a man, the animal will become toothless and mangy and make other animals sick. A, B, C, or D, choose your answer. It's like a cause and effect question here. Let's make sure everybody's answering. Zella, please make sure that you're answering. Montana, Max, Libo, let's make sure we're answering. Julie, Cole K, Emily, or Bella, sorry, and Isabella too. All right, and let's reveal the answer here in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Okay, so we're 50-50 on this one. So the reason why the law of the jungle forbids every beast to eat man is because it's a cause and effect thing. So they don't believe that man is the weak and most defenseless of all living things. That's why they feel that it is a predator in this case. And that's why Shere Khan is like, I want to take this man because he doesn't want it to be any sort of issues, because they know that if an animal kills a man, more men will come with torches and guns, and all of the animals in the jungle will suffer. Because they know that man is the strongest of them all. So A is actually the correct answer in this case. All right, what do the wolves call themselves? Is it A, wolves of the council, B, the CNE people, C, the leaders of the pack, or D, the free people? You had to really pay attention to what they were calling themselves in the story. So Andrew, make sure you're answering. Bella C, let's make sure we're answering. Devin, Isabella, Kaylin, Kyra, thank you, Kyra. Lily H, Mary, let's make sure we're answering. Montana, Tamar. Excellent, thank you. All right, and let's reveal the answer here in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, we're 50-50 on this one too. Again, you had to remember clear details from the story. They actually call themselves the free people, because they're not under any sort of like one particular rule, anything like that. So it is actually D in this case. They are the free people. All right. I'm glad that we're going over these questions because it's really good, because I know that that was super quick. The reader was going through that really quick, but it's good to go over this so that way we kind of have those comprehension of what's happening in the story. So when Mowgli is accepted into the pack, Shere Khan roars in anger, and Bagheera says to himself, roar well, for the time comes when this naked thing will make thee roar to another tune, or I know nothing of man. Which conclusion can be drawn from Bagheera's words? Is it A, Bagheera dislikes tigers and hopes that Mowgli will kill them all? B, Bagheera thinks Mowgli will someday be more powerful than Shere Khan? C, Bagheera wants Mowgli to make Shere Khan roar less loudly so that he does not frighten all the game? Or D, Bagheera wants Shere Khan to join the wolf pack too? A, B, C, or D? Choose your answer. All right, so Bella C, please make sure we're answering. Thank you. DJ, Israel, Kaylin, Kyra, Montana, let's make sure we're answering. All right, we're going to reveal the answer here in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 97%. Woo, woo, that's awesome. And great job, everybody. It is B. Yeah, so he's basically, Bagheera is doing something called foreshadowing. We talked about foreshadowing, right? Saying, hey, you're going to roar well to this, but when the time comes that when, this little naked thing becomes older, there could be potentially the chance that Bagheera is kind of hinting at that Mowgli may someday be more powerful than Shere Khan. So B is the correct answer. So it's usually easy to spot the main character of the story. The main character typically speaks and acts more than the other characters or has some particular quality that causes the character to stand out from other characters. The main character is often the first character the reader meets, and is usually the character the readers care most about. So we can probably assume, if you've seen the Jungle Book, especially the Disney version of it, you could probably assume, that Mowgli is the main character. But is Mowgli the main character? If there was an award for the quietest main character, Mowgli would probably win it. Although the fact that he's human caused him to stand out from the other characters, he's not the first character the reader meets. He has no lines, and he doesn't seem to do anything. But if you pay close attention to the way the plot unfolds, you'll notice that all the important events happen because of Mowgli. Think about it this way. Mowgli is such an important character that he doesn't have to be conspicuous by doing or saying anything to make important things happen. He simply appears in the story, causes a half a dozen conflicts to arise among characters and between individual characters in the wolf pack. Another word for the main character is that protagonist. A reader can tell that Mowgli is the protagonist because almost all the action in the plot centers around him. So, yeah, Mowgli doesn't say anything because, of course, Mowgli is a baby too, but he is probably the loudest, but also the quietest main character in the story because he causes so much conflict to happen in the jungle. We see it even here, a conflict that the protagonist, that Mowgli is already facing, even though he hasn't said anything. In the passage, it says, "The cub is mine, and to my teeth he will come, and in the end, O bush-tail thieves." We see that the central conflict Mowgli already faces in the story is that Shere Khan wants to kill him. So Mowgli hasn't said anything, but there's still that conflict that occurs, which shows that he's, mainly the main character in the story. It's all about conflict with the opposing forces. So while the protagonist is the main character of the story, the antagonist is the character with whom the protagonist has the biggest or most important conflict. So clearly Shere Khan's the antagonist of the Jungle Book because he's opposing with Mowgli, who is our protagonist. It's all part of the laws of the pack. So Mowgli's Brothers is a story with a lot to say about how laws work and what makes a good leader. When Mowgli is first found by the pack, the members of the pack follow their law and come to the conclusion that they should adopt the boy. Baloo gives his word, and Bagheera explains why they should accept the boy according to the law. Here's even what Bagheera says. Baloo has spoken in his behalf. Now to Baloo's words I will add one bull, and a fat one, newly killed, not half a mile from here. If ye will accept the man's cub according to the law, is it difficult? Some characters, especially Shere Khan, disobey the law in this case, which whether the law is obeyed or disobeyed, there are consequences. Think about what happens to Kipling's characters when they enter or when they either follow or break the law. Whom is the law of the jungle intended to protect? Think about good and bad leaders in the story and what the story shows about the difference between allegiance to the leader and allegiance to the law. So let's kind of look at that, especially when diving into the theme. So there's that struggle for peace. This is one of the questions we're going to answer just real quick. So give an example of a time when a character or characters follow the law of the jungle. Do their actions cause or resolve the conflict, and why? First things that Father Wolf does when he presents or finds Mowgli. For answering, I appreciate it. Yeah, so the struggle for peace. We know that Father Wolf, and thank you, Colin, for answering. Let's make sure we're answering because this is going to help us comprehend what's happening in the story, especially prepare you for the quiz tomorrow. Father Wolf brings Mowgli to the council, and even though there's an argument, working through the law helps them resolve the conflict, and Mowgli is then accepted into the pack peacefully in this case. All right, couple things real quick as we wrap up because I know we've got like less than a minute left. Please make sure to review lesson 1.02 on OMS. Please make sure, I know that we've never had this happen in class, but you need to read part 2 of Mowgli's Brothers for tomorrow's class. Please make sure you do that. We are not reading part 2 in class. We're going to jump right into the lesson, talk about symbolism. So if you haven't read it, you're going to be super confused. Please make sure to read part 2. It's in lesson 1.03. There's also the audio recording as well that you can view. But please make sure you read that. You cannot come to class and tell me that you did not read it, because I'm telling you right now, you need to be reading it. We will not be reading it in class. All right, it is 9:45. So at this time, everybody, you are free